Hey everyone, it's Deadponic here. So this video is kind of another one of those videos I just kind of made to do something special, and plus I haven't uploaded in a while, so I figured, okay, I might as well get a video out of the way, and I wanted to do this one for quite a while. So this one is, I did a video about a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck showcase from a couple years ago, but that was mainly through Legacy of the Duelist or EDO Pro or Dawn of a New Era, so I kind of decided not to, that was more of a, what I built off of that. But this is actually more a showcase of all the Magic the Gathering decks I've built over a course of a year and a half. And this is mainly for Commander. So, and I don't play Standard. In fact, the only Standard I've ever played was back in high school. But I've transitioned from Standard because I was so used to that. And I actually got out of the game for a while after high school. And then I got back into Commander, or I got back into Magic through my LGS or local game store, and I got back into Commander. It was a bit of a difficult transition because it's a lot of time and energy invested, and not to mention a lot of money that was spent investing in these decks. And I had to get like multiple. I had to get sleeves. I had to get specific cards, and I had to plan everything out. And also, I had to get a big case for all my decks because I had so many, rather than buying a bunch of little deck boxes. So I have a bunch of decks here. Most of these are decks that I've actually built and I'm currently playing with. Some of them I haven't been playing in a while, and others are just proof of concept or just concepts of decks that I've kind of uh, proposed the idea and I've kind of been working on. There's one deck in here that is a work in progress right now. I've currently got most of the cards, so I figured I might as well show it off. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so starting off, we have my very first commander deck. I built this. This is Morska. Uh, this is built off of the Deep Blue Sea, uh, and a combination of that and a standard deck that was way back in the day, which was the Duel of the Planeswalkers, specifically Elspeth and Kiora. And I took that Kiora deck I built, and I put it into this. So it's not perfect. It is not perfect. But what it is basically, so Morska she has a couple abilities here. You have no maximum hand size, and she is a 3 cost. She's a green, a white, and a blue. So she is pretty cost effective. You could theoretically get her out turn 3 if you really wanted to. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you investigate, which means you create a clue token. And funny enough, I named this deck Morska Plays Blues Clues, which is probably my favorite name for a deck because it's all about clues. I'm hoping that they do like a Scooby-Doo themed deck, because I know they're doing they did Final Fantasy, and Edge of Eternity just came out not that long ago, but I'm really hoping that in the near future they actually do a Scooby-Doo deck, because Spider-Man is actually coming. The Marvel decks are coming in September actually. So Morska has that, and then whenever you draw your second card each turn, you basically pump it. However, it's each turn. So say I don't know, I draw a couple cards on my turn, and then I draw a couple cards on someone else's turn. Now, it would have to be would have to play something where everybody draws 2 cards or draws a card. Now, it's only 1 card, so it wouldn't trigger this. But it is kind of interesting to play off of that. And, I've got pretty standard artifacts here. I might actually swap out the Darksteel plate at some point. I don't know. It's not a bad. It's just not. I don't know. Like, I might put it on Morska sometimes if I can get it. But the lands are definitely the one that are suffering right now because there's not a lot of lands. Most of it is put into either the creatures or the instants or sorceries. And for planeswalkers, Kiora is like my favorite planeswalker. She is the best. Like, she was the one. She is the first planeswalker I ever got out of that Duel of the Planeswalkers deck. However, she is a lot of fun. I have never gotten to use her ultimate ability though. That's the thing. And then I got Tameo, Field Researcher. So this allows me to basically get cards off of people when they do damage to people, which is interesting, but I have to target 2 creatures out off of it. And then you could tap 2 non-land permanents, and they don't untap. And then her ultimate ability is draw 3 cards, and then you get an emblem where you can basically cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana cost. Never gotten this either. Okay, enchantments. Karametra's Favor, which basically enchants a creature, and they can tap that amount a mana of any color, and when it enters, you draw a card. Levitation, creatures you control have flying. Market Festival, another enchantment, basically a ramp land enchantment. Ongoing Investigation. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal common damage to a player, you investigate. You can exile a creature from your graveyard by paying 1 and a green. You can investigate, and you gain 2 life. Shielded by Faith. This is basically, you enchant the creature, they have indestructible, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you can attach Shielded by Faith to that creature. Singing Bell Strike, this is basically to stop anybody from using activated abilities, not mana abilities though. And the cost to untap is pretty high for 2 cost. To pay 6 to untap the creature is pretty high, especially in the early stages of the game. Starlight Mantle, I haven't used this before. You enchant a creature you control, and when it enters, you enchant a creature gets hexproof until end of turn, and it also gets 1/1. That's fine. Triumph of Garrett. This is a saga, so it's 1 and 2 chapter, I guess it's, what is it? On 1 and 2, you put a 1/1 on target creature you control with the greatest power. And then on 3, target creature you control with the greatest power gains flying, first strike, and lifelink until end of turn. For a 2-drop. And you have to get it to 3, which is kind of easy to do, actually. Urban Burgeoning lets me, you have to enchant a land. And you untap that land during each other player's untap step. But Wilderness Reclamation lets me untap all lands I control on my end step, which is amazing. And it really plays into a lot of the other things. So, instants. I got a lot of these, so I gotta go through them. Aetherize, return all attacking creatures to their hand, to the owner's hand. Bone to Ash, you counter target creature spell and draw a card. Clash of Wills, counter target spell unless its controller pays X. X I've never actually used this before, so I don't know. Clinging Mist, it's a 3-drop fog. But if you have 5 or less life, you tap all attacking creatures and they don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Confirmed Suspicions is another counter spell. You investigate 3 times. Giant Growth pumps up a creature. I usually use that on something like Morska or something that I really want to pump up just to make sure it survives. Glint gives +0/+3 and hexproof until end of turn, which is really good. Mind Static. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 6 for a 4-drop. This isn't bad, actually. I've only ever actually used this once. Funny enough. Mizium Skin, you can overload this for 2, and so target creature, instead of target, it's each creature you control gets +0/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn. That's really good. Mortal's Resolve. Target creature gets +1/+1 and indestructible until end of turn. Not bad. Out Cold. Cannot be countered. You tap 2 target creatures and... up to 2 target creatures and put a stun counter on each of them and you investigate. If a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, you remove 1 from it instead. And it remains untapped until it has no more stun counters left. Okay. Refocus. Untap target creature, draw a card. For 2, that's pretty good. Spidery Grass. Untap target creature. It gets +2/+4 and gains reach until end of turn. This is good for dealing with flyers. Turn to Frog. Love this. This is a fun card to shut down anything for a 2-drop too. Basically, they lose all abilities. Target creature loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1/1. That's crazy. That's crazy powerful. Temple is under attack. You choose one and this is for a 3-drop, by the way. So you either do Pray for Protection, which means creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, or you strike a deal, and you and target opponent each draw 2 cards. So playing this later down the line is actually really good. It helps with politics and all that, and it is a lot of fun. So a lot of the creatures, actually, let's go down to sorceries real quick. So I've got Explorer, lets me play an additional land and draw a card. Harmonize, draw 3 cards. Vital Burst gets creature gets 5/5 until end of turn. Pour over the pages. You draw 3 cards, untap up to 2 lands, and discard a card. Sea God's Revenge. Return up to 3 target creatures your opponents control to their owner's hands, and you scry 1. Time Warp. Oh man, Time Warp is so much fun if you can. It's only one. Extra turn, but it does so much, and that can help a lot. Okay, and then Urban Evolution. Draw 3 cards. You can play an additional land this turn. These are mostly ramp spells for this one. Okay, a lot of creatures here, so I gotta go through each of them. So Academy Manufacturer. So if you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, you create one of each, and Morska automatically creates a clue token on the upkeep. So if I have this out, then I get all 3, which is really good. Let's see. Edric and Nev Twin Casters. Ward 2, so basically, unless they pay an extra 2 for targeting with a spell or ability, you counter it unless that player pays 2. And if one or more tokens will be created under your control, you put twice that many. So that includes clues, foods, and treasures. Alter Ego, basically, it can't be countered, and you can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it enters with an additional 1/1 on it. And you should go for 2, usually. So it'll basically absorb, like, it'll basically have the power and toughness of the creature it's copying, but it'll have extra on it. Let's see. Beetle Form Mage. Yeah, these are mostly just counters, running counters for most of these, but it's mostly to pump up Morska. Bounding Crassus, it has Flash. When it enters the battlefield, you may tap or untap a target creature. That can be helpful. Shulane, Teller of Tales, has Vigilance, so it doesn't tap when it attacks. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you can draw a card and you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. You can pay 3 and tap this, and return target creature you control to its owner's hand. This is really good for saving important creatures. Cloak Siren, flashing flying for 3/2 for a 4-drop. Not bad, could be better. Clown Mantra is a 3/4 fish for 3/2 and it has flying. So if I want to hit somebody with a flying fish, I can do that. Deadly Recluse, Reach and Death Touch. This is one of the ones from the from my original standard deck. Sorry, one sec. Sorry, my butt was itchy. Okay, the Reach and Death Touch. So it's to prevent stop flyers, and it also protects me. So it's a guaranteed. If my guy's gonna die, your guy is gonna die too, unless they have first strike. Death Hood Cobra is really cool because it's a 2-drop for 2/2. You can pay 2, 1 in a green, and gets Reach, and 1 in a green, and it gets Death Touch until end of turn. So you can basically, it's kind of interesting actually, but you have to basically wait a turn though, I think. I have to double check that. Yes, Dragon Lord Dramoka. Okay, so I got this from back when my local game store was actually selling individual cards. I got this for like $2, I think. So can't be countered. Flying and lifelink, which means any damage, whatever damage it does, I get back as life. And your opponent can't cast spells during your turn for a 6-drop. It's a 5/7. Pretty good actually. Elgod Shieldmate. This is one of the soulbound cards that I have. So as long as it's paired with another creature, so basically it enters and then another creature enters, you pair it off, and say when one of the creatures dies that it's paired with dies, and you put in another one, you can actually pair off again. But the first one has to die though, and as long as both of them are paired, both creatures have hexproof. So some of these are actually from the precon, so Erdwall Illuminator. Whenever you investigate for the first time each turn, you can investigate a second time, which is really good. It pairs off nicely with Morska. You've got Grafmole. Whenever you sack a clue, you gain 3 life. Hornet Queen. Ooh boy. So, this was another one that I put in from my Morska, or not my Morska, the Kiara deck. It has Flying Death Touch, and when it enters, you create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with Flying and Death Touch. Basically, it's an insurance policy. Kenrith Necrons, I don't know why I have another spider here, but I'll get to the spiders later. Reach and Death Touch, 2/3 for 4. Not bad. Kiara's Follower. So I have there's a combo that I do with Kiara Follower and the other one, where basically I untap another target permanent, which is usually the creature, and then I can use that to untap a land. And I basically just go back and forth every turn with that. It's really good, actually. Okay, Coma. So, can't be countered. It is a 3 and 2 green and 2 blue for 6/6. At the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token, and you can sack another serpent and choose one. Tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn, or it gains indestructible until end of turn. Land of War Elves, Mana Dork, Man of War. When it enters the battlefield, you return target creature to its owner's hand for a 3-drop. That's not bad, actually. Okay, Merchant of Truth. So, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you investigate. And clues you control have exalted. There's a card in here that turns all of your clues into 6/6s, which is really good. Okay, this one is another copy card. Except it gains, you pay 2 and 2 blue and return this creature to its owner's hand. That's pretty good, not bad. Mnemonic Wall lets me return a sorcery or instant from my graveyard to my hand. That's pretty good to have. Mother of Runes. I think I've won games because of this card, but you can tap it and target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Mushroom Watchdog. So, if I have food up, you sack a food and you put a 1/1 on it, and it gains vigilance until end of turn. You can only activate it as a sorcery. That's pretty fine. I'm pretty okay with that. Okay, so this is another one from the precon. Whenever you draw a card, it's a 3-drop for 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1 colorless. If you do, you put a 1/1 counter on the Kraken, and you create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. Not bad. Okay, so this is one of the ones that I actually added from the Fallout one, where it is Nick Valentine. He's a 2 and a blue for 2/2. He can't be blocked except by artifact creatures, and whenever him or another artifact creature you control dies, you may investigate. That's pretty good, not gonna lie. Said Scorpion, another death touch for 1-drop. Pretty good. Sky Eel School, another flying fish. When it enters, you can draw a card and discard a card. Well, you draw a card and discard a card. You don't have a choice. And it's a 5-drop for 3/3. It's alright. Spectral Gate Guards, another Soulbound. When it's paired with something, both creatures have vigilance. That's pretty good. This one. Okay. So, Tangled Trove Kelp. It's a 7-drop clue plant artifact creature for 6/6. It has Ward 2. At the beginning of each combat, other clues you control become 6/6 plant creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn. You can pay 2 and sack it and draw a card. Yeah, I've won games. I won a game because of this. Alright, so, Tireless Tracker. Whenever a land you control, it has landfall, so whenever a land enters, you investigate. Whenever you sack a clue, you put a 1/1 on this. It's alright. Trident Sorewalker. Can't be blocked. It's a 1-drop for 1/1. Voyaging Satyr. This is the one that has my combo with Kiara's Follower. It's a lot of fun. Wall of Frost. Whenever it has Defender, and it is a 3-drop for 0/7, whenever Wall of Frost blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during the controller's untap step. Next untap step. Yes, Wing Coil. Just in case I needed something to mix things up a little bit. As you can see, this is clearly a mishmash. It doesn't really have a true theme. It's just creatures that I threw in there just to really shake things up and to get a deck out. I have Pathfinder, which is another mana dork. You can pay 7 and tap it. You get, creature gets 3/3 and trample. I might have, if this was maybe 6 or 5, then maybe this would be fine. I don't use the ability here very often. I only use it for the mana dork. And Young Wolf. Basically, when it dies, it comes back with a 1/1 on it. So it can only come back once, but it's a 1-drop. It is super annoying in the early game. Yeah, so that's Morska. The idea of Morska is basically just pump up Morska as much as you can, draw lots of cards. Now, the only thing that really kills this deck is Notion Thief, or anything that stops me from drawing. Like Notion Thief, or any counter spells, or anything like that. Or even something like Nekusar could actually, like a Nekusar deck, could actually kill this deck, because I'm drawing lots of cards. That's weird. And also the amount of mana I have in here is I need to go in and like change things up quite a bit. Okay, so next up is the second deck I ever bought, which is the Necron. It's built off the Necron precon, but instead of that, I made my commander Kenrith the Return King. So what he does, he is a 4 and a white drop for 5/5. What he does is, for a red, all creatures gain trample and haste until end of turn. 1 in a green, put a 1/1 on target creature. 2 in a white, target player gains 5 life. 3 in a blue, target player draws a card. And 4 in a black, you can return a creature from a graveyard and put it under its owner's control. That's actually really good. Now, the idea of this deck is mostly just group hug, for the most part. Like, the idea is, if you want stuff, don't touch my shit. And I've got a lot of, like, super rare cards in here. I've got a Dark Ritual. I've got, where is it? Demonic Tutor. That is a really expensive card, and that is a really powerful card. Let's see. Now, it's mostly built off of the, as I said, the Necron precon, but I did add a few things that truly make it my own. For example, I have War Report, Grave Purge, and Calculated Dismissal as my instance. Now, I might change this out at some point, and of course I have Dark Ritual. For the creatures, Age of the Gods, which means you have hexproof, not creatures, you. So, somebody tries to mill you, doesn't work. Somebody tries to throw, like, ping you, doesn't work. What it has to say is target, though. Archetype Finality. This basically stops any death touch from, and all my stuff gets death touch, and other creatures that opponents control, they lose death touch, and they cannot have or gain death touch as long as this is on the field. That's really good. I have a clone, so that I can copy something. I've got Cycles of Eternal Fury. Now, I don't necessarily need this, but it's nice to have this when I don't want to use Kenrith's ability. Diviner Spirit. When it deals combat to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. This is good for politicking kind of thing. Ghastly Death Tyrant. This is a lot of fun because it's basically a guaranteed, well, it gets rid of enchantments and it gives my creatures death touch when I don't have archetype up on the field. Let's see. Nightshade Peddler is just soulbound death touch. So as long as it's paired with something, both creatures have death touch. That's really good. I have an Opaline Unicorn for mana dorking. Possessed Scab. So with this one, what I do is I go Demonic Tutor, go into Possessed Scab. Later on, I play the Possessed Scab, bring back my Demonic Tutor, so I can use Demonic Tutor again. A lot of fun. Lot of fun. Okay, let's see here. Weeping Angel. This is a Doctor Who one. I really like this one. It is so much fun. So it's 1 and blue and black for 2/2. It has Flash, First Strike, and Vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, Weeping Angel is not considered a creature until end of turn. That doesn't mean it can't block. It just means for the purposes of targeting stuff. Actually, let me double check the ruling on that because I have to make sure. It continues to be an artifact, but will stop being both an alien and an angel until it becomes a creature again. Okay. Okay, so it's not a very good blocker. But what it does, if it would deal combat damage to a creature, you instead prevent that damage, and that creature's owner shovels it into their library. So basically, it's a great way to get rid of threatening things, and you can actually get, if you pair it off with something like a fight card, which I don't have here, but if you do that, it basically guarantees damage. Well, it doesn't guarantee combat damage because it prevents it, but it guarantees the effect goes off, but only on my turn though. And then I've got Witch King, Bringer of Ruin, which is a lot of fun. Has flying, it's a 6-drop for 5/3. When it attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature with the least power among creatures they control. This is pretty powerful. Let's see, what other... Okay, Planeswalkers. I've got one Jace, and I have another Jace in my other deck. This is the one I might swap out for, but I don't know yet. So basically, the +1 ability basically lets you look at Scry 2, and you can put 1 in the graveyard. This would be great in the other deck. The -3 ability, you can return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And the -8 ability is each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into their library, and you draw 7 cards. It doesn't say you each. I think it's just you draw 7 cards. So I'm assuming everybody draws 7 cards. I could be wrong here. Let me double check the ruling. Don't put it down. Okay. So then I've got Tasha. So I don't usually use her for her other ability. Well, actually, so her thing is you draw a card, and then for each opponent you exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery from that player's graveyard and put a page counter on it. And then her -3 ability is you can cast a spell from among those in exile with page counters on them without paying the mana cost. Oh, and she can also be your commander, which is fun. Which is a lot of fun. And then I have Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. I originally was going to make this a full-on Necron deck, so that's why I put him here. But basically, the first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less. That's really good. So you can +1 him, draw 2 cards, then you discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. Now, there's the Biotransference, which turns all creatures into artifacts in addition to their other types. So if I have this on the field and I have Tezzeret, I basically only have to discard 1 card technically. So I'm drawing 2 and discarding 1. His -2 ability is target artifact becomes an artifact creature. This doesn't really matter. But if it isn't a vehicle, it has base power and toughness 4/4. That's not bad. And then the -6 ability, which is his ultimate, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, you draw a card. It's not bad. Now, the negative effect here is whenever you, of Biotransference, is whenever you cast an artifact spell, you lose a life and you create a 2/2 black Necron warrior artifact creature token. However, if I have Circle of Protection black, I can stop that from happening, which is really good. Now, the other thing I really like is I have, where is it? So I have Arcane Signet, of course. Cage Sun, that's not bad. Coat of Arms is pretty fun. Now, I don't know if it would apply to artifact creatures, so I don't know. I think it's a subtype thing. Now, Darksteel Ignite, that's not bad for a 3-drop. I have a Gilded Lotus, surprisingly, where it's a 5-drop. You add 3 of any one color, and then the Monolith. Now, I know a lot of Warhammer players say, yeah, the Monolith model in the game, or is it the Obelisk? I think it's the Obelisk that's bad, and the Tesseract, well, that's also bad, but the Monolith is a lot of fun. So, it has Flying Indestructible, it's a 7-drop for 7/7, and whenever it attacks, you mill 3 cards. For each creature card milled this way, you create a 2/2 black Necron Warrior artifact creature token, and you accrue 4. Basically, you basically are trying to, you tap any number of creatures you control with total power 4 or more. So say, I don't know, the Crook Thrall, or you can tap any number, and basically it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So it can do a lot of damage. Now, the Resurrection Orb is a lot of fun because creature has lifelink. Whenever it dies, you return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. But this doesn't go away. And then I have Sculpting Steel. So, the Scepter of Eternal Glory is a 4-drop. You can either tap it to add 1 of any color, or tap it to add 3 of any one color. Activate only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. And I just so happen to have, if I have 3 swamps, I can do that. And Sculpting Steel lets me copy an artifact on the battlefield, any artifact. I usually do it with either Scepter, or if I'm lucky to get Gilded Lotus out, get Gilded Lotus. And I've got Soul Ring and Thought Vessel. Not a bad deck, actually. It's not my most powerful, but it is a lot of fun. And most people think that I'm simply running pure Necrons, which is not true, until I start pulling up Void Dragon or pull up with Witch King, Bringer of Ruin. Sculpting Steel copying the Gilded Lotus is really freaking scary. And the Archetype of Finality is kind of the ace card. But it's not my only ace card. The only thing that really kills this deck is dedicated counterspells, focus aggression, and basically, since I'm not very good at politics, I have to keep my promise. So basically, okay, on my turn, I'll give you a card. And then on my next turn, I'll give you a card. But you guys can't attack me or do anything to me. So if you want stuff, don't touch my shit, basically. That's the idea. Okay, so this is a Fallout deck. This is mostly an energy deck. Now, I'll explain why I have 2 commanders here. So, I have a card called The Flesh is Weak. But the problem is that it has black in it. And Madison Lee does not have black. So I have to run it with Megatron. However, I was gonna run it with Golos. But Golos, when I got Golos, and then he got banned. So I can't use him. So what do I do? So, and the only thing I can do is either I swap this out, or I play an artifact deck with black in it, which doesn't make sense. Anyway, so the point of this deck is this is basically building a bunch of energy counters to do a bunch of stuff. The core combo piece is Automated Assembly Line, which whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get an energy counter. You can pay 3 and create a tap 3/3 colorless robot artifact creature token. That's really good. Bespoke Battle Wagon, which is a vehicle. It's a 4-drop for 5/6. So you can tap it and you get its first tap ability is you get 2 energy counters. The second tap ability is you pay 2 and tap target creature. Tap it again. Its third tap is pay 3 energy and draw a card. Or you can pay 4 and it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, or it has crew 4, or you can crew for it. Now, the main thing about this one is Eyes at Genitorium. If you would get 1 or more energy counters, you get that many plus 1 instead. So, I'm basically generating 3. I would basically be generating 3 energy counters each turn if I get this out. Now, Automated Assembly Line does the same thing, and I would get 2. Aether Works Marvel. Whenever something is put into the graveyard, I get an energy counter, so I would get 2 off of that. There are cards in here that basically pump up the amount of energy counters I can do. And one of them just so happened. Now, I have my Landfall one, and I can pay 6 energy counters to draw 3 cards. That's pretty good, not gonna lie. Let's see here. A lot of energy counters here, which is just crazy. And So Madison's ability is whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get an energy counter. You can tap her and pay 1. Target creature gets +1/+0 and trample and haste until end of turn. You can tap it and pay 3 and draw a card, or you can tap it and pay 5. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now, Megatron's ability has his More Than Meets the Eye ability, which I'll explain in a minute. You can basically cast it for his converted side, which I'll get to in a minute, but your opponents can't cast spells during combat. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you may convert Megatron. If you do, you add 1 colorless for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. His other ability is his Living Metal. So as long as it's your turn, he is also a creature. He's a 4/5, but his base is 7/5. Now, whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact. When you do, Megatron deals damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value to target creature. If excess damage will be dealt to that creature this way, instead that damage is dealt to the creature's controller and you convert him back. Now, the problem is that people are aware of this and sometimes when I get it out. So they're going to try to either destroy it or take control of it, which is one of the reasons why I don't bring him out very often. Yeah, and that's essentially what the deck is all about, generating as much energy counters as you can. And really the only thing that kills this is artifact hate, and if anyone steals Megatron, that's it. There's nothing I can do realistically. I do have a couple things that deal with threats, but not enough to actually be considered an actual threat. Electro Siphon is a lot of fun because if somebody's playing like a huge monster, you can counter it and you get an amount of energy equal to its mana value. So somebody is dropping a 5-drop, I would get 6. And it's just a lot of fun. It is, but it is pretty much, it's the one deck I don't bring out because of the way I have it. So I would have to rule 0 it in order to do anything realistically. And people would have to be okay with that. It's either that or I pair them off with something like Emotech the Stormlord or something that actually does have black in it. Which I don't know if I would do anyway. Because it doesn't really fit the theme here. Alright, so next one is another Fallout deck. This time it's Hail Caesar, or it's Caesar. So his thing is you're generating lots of tokens. You're generating soldier tokens. This is a soldier deck. And basically his thing is whenever you attack, you can, as long as he's on the field, you can sacrifice another creature, and when you do, you choose 2. You can either, and you can choose 2 of the same. You create 2 1/1 red and white soldier creature tokens with haste that are tapped and attacking. You draw a card and you lose 1 life, or it deals damage equal to the number of creature tokens you control to target opponent. I've never been able to use this ability though. So it's all about pumping up soldiers and also pumping out as many soldier creature tokens as I can. That is basically the idea of this entire deck. I've got a couple things that deal with threats, but it's mostly just getting a bunch of creature. It's creature swarm essentially. Okay, Cavalry Charge. This is a pretty strong deck, and for some reason this Architect labels this as for its salt generation as like less 5 points below 30, or is it 38? Sorry, but Sidar is, this is a knight deck. Let me just hang on, give me a second. Okay, so Sidar has an Eminence ability, which basically means it takes effect whether it's on the battlefield or not. So whenever you attack with one or more knights, if it's on the battlefield or in the command zone, you draw a card and discard a card. It is a 4-drop, 1 blue, white, black. It has flying first strike for 4/3. Now when it's on the battlefield and when it deals combat damage to a player, you can return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, the crux of this deck is, where is it? Knight Exemplar. Knight Exemplar. Other knight creatures you control have one get 1/1 and have indestructible. But I also have Wonder. So, as long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, which this deck does run that, creatures you control have flying. Now, the other one is something called Herald of Hoofbeats. It gives all my knights horsemanship. And horsemanship is, it can't be blocked except by creatures with horsemanship. So I can basically just rush in with a bunch of knights and just take people out. This is, hands down, my strongest deck. But it does have a few weaknesses. The main weakness is that it gets targeted like crazy. Like the what is it? The Knight Exemplar. The Knight Exemplar gets targeted like crazy. The Herald of Hoofbeats gets targeted like crazy. But that is where I have certain things to deal with that. I have Last Word, which it can't be countered by spells or abilities. You counter a spell. And I have Void Rend. And I do have a Dovin's Veto in here, which is just a lot of fun. It is so much fun. This is also a deck that I built around Plane Chase. And it is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's a fun Plane Chase deck, but it's also a good regular deck. And I've only lost twice with this deck specifically. Okay. Spiders. Spoiders. So, this is largely, it is a spider deck. However, it's built around two things. Shelob's ability, which is, she is a 6-drop for 8/8. She has Death Touch, Ward 2, and other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, you create a token that's a copy of that creature except it's a food artifact. So you're basically making food artifacts, tokens. Now, there is a lot of fight cards in here, but there's also a bunch of stuff that lets me bring stuff back, like Dutiful Return, Raise Dead, a lot of ramp too. I found Revive the Shire, Spider Spawning. But the funniest card I have in here is Arachnogenesis. This is basically a 3-drop fog, but it creates X 1/2 green spider creature tokens with reach, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. So say somebody's going to throw something at me, I just do that, and they can't do anything unless they counter it. But really the only thing that stops this deck is counter spells, because it doesn't have blue. There's a lot of fight spells in here. That's the crazy part. Alright, so as for enchantments, Arcanus Web. So basically you enchant this, and the enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated at the beginning of the end step. If enchanted creature's power is 4 or greater, you destroy this. Curse of Clinging Webs, which basically means whenever you enchant a player, whenever a non-token creature enchanted player controls dies, you exile it, and you create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. Deathroot Ritual. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may draw a card. For a 4-drop, that's pretty good. Moldervine Reclamation. Whenever a creature you control dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So you can kind of combo these. It's a 5-drop though. This one, Knight of the Sweet's Revenge, turns all of my foods into basically just massive ramp. It's crazy how it works. Scavenger's Talent is a really fun card. I have not been able to use it yet though. But this is just playing defensive and forcing people to basically attack, well, basically causing creatures to fight. And a lot of the creatures have Death Touch. So it guarantees that something is dying. And a lot of spiders here. Okay, next up is Muldrotha. Now, I built this deck because I do not like being forced to mill. So I decided, and I was playing against a guy who was playing Mothman. I'm not going to name names here, but the idea is, if you can't beat it, take advantage of the mechanic. So basically, this is just about getting things into the graveyard as much as possible. There's a lot of self-milling here. In fact, one of my main enchantments basically guarantees that I'm throwing something into the graveyard. And uh, this is the Jace that I wanted to uh, throw into Kenrith, but I'm conflicted. But Liliana is kind of my crux here too, because she lets me return things from my graveyard to my hand. She can destroy a creature, and its controller loses 2 life, so I can basically destroy anything I want to get things into the graveyard. And then her ultimate ability is target opponent loses 2 life for each creature in their graveyard. Now, Muldrotha, basically you put them on the field, and during each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type. Now, if they share a permanent type, you have to declare what you're doing. But you don't get to play 2 lands per turn. That's the only thing. But that's fine. I have no issue with that. The main crux of this deck is Violent Tumor. That's how I start things off. I always try to get Violent Tumor as much as I can, and basically it lets me throw things into the graveyard. I have a Diabolic Tutor for a 4-drop here. Hang on a sec. Diabolic Tutor lets me get anything I need, like, for example, another Last Word, a Fog if I need it. I might actually swap out the Knot to the Bone, maybe, or Hunger of the Howl Pack. I don't know yet. But that's the great thing. Ugh. And I've got a couple of high cost creatures here too, like Lord of the Forsaken, Junji, which basically is my insurance policy. Gravebreaker Lamia. Not only does it let me chuck something into the graveyard, but spells you cast from your graveyard cost one colorless to cast. On top of, where is it? Honest Rutstein, which does that as well, but you can also return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a lot of fun. I have a Possessed Scab. I have a couple things here that are a lot of fun. But the main thing is the enchantments. For example, Biting Tether lets me control an enchanted creature, and at the beginning of the upkeep, I put a -1/-1 counter on the enchanted creature. That's fine. I use that to deal with, say, big threats or something that's generating a lot of problems. The Curse of Inertia lets other people who are attacking the player tap a permanent they control of their choice. Paralyzing Grasp makes it so that an enchanted creature doesn't untap during the controller's untap step. That's really good. Sinister Concoction lets me mill and discard and sacrifice it to destroy a creature for a 1-drop. That's not bad. Sultai Ascendancy, at the beginning of my upkeep, I look at the top 2, then I can put any number in my graveyard and put the rest on the top of my library in any order. So say I need something in my graveyard, I could just do 2, I could throw them into the graveyard, and then the next one will be something else. It's really good. Verdant Haven, I don't really use this unless I really need to. Vraska Joins Up. This is a lot of fun, but I have to have a lot of creatures on the field. But Witness Protection is probably the funniest card I have in here, because it's kind of like a permanent Frogify. So enchanted creature loses all abilities. They are a green and white citizen creature with base power 1/1, and they're named Legitimate Business Person. Lot of fun. There's a couple ramp spells in here. I don't know why I have to update this, but I took out the incremental growth. I think I put it in my Tidus deck. I don't know yet. And then as for those were sorceries. Where are my instants? I got a Putrefy to deal with things. I've got Titanic Growth. I don't know why I have Titanic Growth in here. I need to fix that. And also I have a battle. So the way battles work is that the little 4 over here, you give it to somebody to protect. And rather than swinging at them, you could swing at the battle. And there's also an effect here. Hang on a sec. Actually, here, hang on. So when it enters the battlefield, you return up to 3 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. And then its flip ability is It becomes an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. That is really good, especially in a graveyard deck like this. Now, I have a couple surprises here. I have Archetype of Imagination, which gives all my stuff, all my creatures flying, and it takes away flying from other things. So say, oh, I don't know, I'm fighting dragons, it takes away their flying. So they're not a threat anymore unless this dies for some reason. The Avatar of Woe, it costs 6 colorless less if there are 10 or more creature cards total in all graveyards. It has Fear, which means it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or black creatures, and I can tap it and destroy a creature. It's a lot of fun. But this is my big surprise. I don't use this for its creature effect. I use it for its land effect. So it's a 4-drop. It's a 12/12. It enters tapped with 5 slumber counters on it. As long as it has a slumber counter on it, it is a land. It is not a creature. So it can't be targeted for any creature effects. And whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a slumber counter from it. However, I don't use it for that. And this is kind of also a ticking time bomb if I really need to mix things up. Now, I do have a Jet Medallion in here. I forgot to update this, so I'll have to do that on my off time. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that's really good. Yes. And it's just a bunch of just getting things into the graveyard, essentially. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I might swap out the Izoni. I don't know yet. Okay, so next up is my Tidus Proliferate deck. So this is one of the Final Fantasy precons that I got, and I got it when it dropped. I actually got it a couple days before it released. But basically, it's all about Final Fantasy X. There's a lot of flavor. Oh, sorry. Okay, going back to Muldrotha for a second. So Muldrotha has a couple things that will kill it. So Graveyard Hate and Exiling. Those are the 2 big ones. And also dedicated targeting. If somebody takes out Muldrotha, then my strategy is gone, essentially. So the Tidus deck is built largely off the precon. However, I took a lot of stuff out and put a lot of stuff in, which I'm very happy with. It's got a lot of really neat mechanics. There isn't much that hasn't changed here. The only things I really added were mostly just little piddly things. It's mostly just Final Fantasy X flavor, but I really enjoy it. I don't break it out very often. Really the only thing that kills this deck is dedicated destruction and lack of recursion. So really I haven't really had a chance to actually fully test this out yet. I've only used it in maybe 3 games total. However, the card that I recently got not that long ago was Ride the Shoe Puff. I love this card. It is so much fun. It is just so much fun. Yeah. I've got so many good cards here. I've got An Offer You Can't Refuse. I've got Destroy Evil. The art is from the precon. I've got Doe's Veto, which stops any non-creature spells. Endless Detour, which basically means the owner of a spell, non-land, permanent, or a card in the graveyard puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library. So there is a little bit of recursion, but it's not much. Growth Spiral. So it's basically another Explore. Last Word, you've already seen that. Protection Magic. So you can put a shield counter on each of up to 3 target creatures. Now, I checked. You can proliferate the shield counters. And then I've got a steady progress to proliferate and draw a card. But Tidus' ability is the interesting part here. So, on the beginning of combat on your turn, you can move a counter from target creature you control to a second target creature you control. And his Cheer ability, which is from the actual game. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. And you can only do this, so it only triggers once for one or more. So if I'm attacking with 3, it only triggers once. Now, the other commander in this deck is actually Yuna. But Yuna's ability is alright. It's not that bad. But the other one, the new thing that they introduced was the summons. So the summons are enchantment creatures and sagas. And I've got three of the actually sorry, four, but I've got Bahamut. I've traded for a Bahamut, but I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. So Ixion, or Horsey, Lightning Horsey as I like to call him, his Saga 1 ability is you exile target creature and opponent controls until this Saga leaves the battlefield. His 2 and 3 are you put a 1/1 on each of up to 2 target creatures you control and you gain 2 life. And he has first strike. He's a 3/3 for a 3-drop. Now, I'll quickly talk about one other thing. Sin. So Sin, this Sin anyway, he can shut down other proliferate decks. He actually also shuts down this. Well, he removes all the 1/1s off all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, and then he enters with that many, where X is twice the number of counters removed that way. And when he dies, you can put all of the counters on it on target creature you control, then you shuffle it into the owner's library. So basically, you've got a ticking time bomb. Now, Shiva, she is a 4/5 for a 5-drop. Her 1 and 2 Saga ability is tap target creature and opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Her 3 ability is Diamond Dust, which is her overdrive ability in Final Fantasy X. You draw a card for each tap creature your opponents control. Ah yes, now, Valifor, or Mega Ultra Chicken as I like to call him. He's a 5-drop, 5/4 flying. His first Saga ability is each opponent chooses a creature with the greatest mana value among creatures they control and returns to their owner's hands. His 2, 3, and 4 are tap up to target 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. So you could do this basically 3 times. Now, Yojimbo. Yojimbo's kind of funny actually. So he is a 4-drop, 5/5 Vigilance. His first ability is exile target artifact, enchantment, or tap creature an opponent controls. His 2/3 is until your next turn, creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each of those creatures. So it's basically a mini propaganda for 2 turns. And then his 4 ability is you create X creature treasure tokens, where X is the number of opponents who control a creature with power 4 or greater. That is insane. And basically, it's basically all about proliferation. Except Riku, her ability is whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature, doesn't matter what it is, until end of turn, that creature can't be blocked by creatures your opponents control, and you can pay 1 and tap it for her steal ability, which is move a counter from target creature and opponent controls onto target creature you control. You can only activate it as a sorcery. However, this is great for stopping something like, I don't know, another proliferate deck. And probably one of my favorite cards from this precon is they actually added Oaka. So you basically can remove a counter from a non-land permanent you control and draw a card. It's really good, funny enough. And then the other one that's just funny, Gata and Luzu for a 3-drop has Flash. When they enter, you choose target creature you control. If damage will be dealt to that creature this turn, you prevent that damage and put that many 1/1 counters on it. So basically, if you throw a I think it works for destroy cards, but I'm not sure yet. And yeah, that's pretty much on that end of things. Okay. Really the only things that are actually worth pointing out for the sorceries is Tezzeret's Gambit. Well, you draw 2 cards and proliferate, and you can either pay a blue or 2 life when you cast it. So you're either paying 4 or 3 and 2 life. But I love the art on this. This is all the art for the Final Fantasy X precon is really good. Okay, so next up, before we get into the concept decks, I have another Final Fantasy deck, which is a Cloud Voltron deck. Now, this is basically just putting a bunch of artifacts, mainly equipment, but Cloud's ability is really good, actually. He has haste. He is a 5-drop 2 red, green, and white. He has haste. When he enters, you attach up to one target equipment you control to him, and when he attacks, you draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. Then, if he has power 7 or greater, you create 2 treasure tokens. That is really good. That is really good, especially if you because of the rank. Now, another thing I didn't realize is I put Adalbert Steiner from Final Fantasy IX in here. Now, Vivi from Final Fantasy IX is getting a lot of traction, and he's one of the kill it on site commanders. But I like Steiner a lot in the game, and he is a lot of fun. I have Beatrix as well. She is really good, but this is a work in progress. I'm still ordering the cards. In fact, I believe I have. Let's see here. Yes, I do. So, I actually have the commander right here. Funny enough. Now, it's still a work in progress, but I'm working on it, and I'm excited. Funny enough. Okay, so one of the other things that this deck does really well is it's great at finding artifacts, mainly, but the enchantments are the things that I really like about it. So I've got Timely Ward, so it's a 3-drop, but if it targets the commander, it has flash, and the enchanted creature gets indestructible. Strong Back lets me equip abilities that I activate that target the enchanted creature costs 3 less to activate. Most of these are equip 1, usually. Some 2s, some 3s, but it's really good. And then enchanted creature gets 2/2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Sterling Grove. Other enchantments you control have Shroud. And you can pay 1 and sack it, search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, and then shuffle and put it on the top of the library. Shield of the Oversoul. As long as enchanted creature is green, it gets 1/1 and indestructible. And as long as enchanted creature is white, it gets 1/1 and flying. So, because Cloud is both green and white, it counts. Okay, Rancor is such a funny card because when it is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you just return it to its owner's hand, essentially. And then I've got Unsara's Wings. Now, I had wanted to put, Sigarda's Aid, but I found it's too expensive right now, so I just decided. And I also wanted to put Fighter Class in here, but that's in my sideboard. So Enchanted Creature is legendary, which Cloud already is. Gets 1/1, has flying, vigilance, and lifelink. So it's pretty strong. Mantle of the Ancients. Basically, it's basically pumping up something. Hunter's Talent is another class where it's not bad, but I haven't had a chance to test it. I'm still ordering all the cards for that. Court of Ire. When it enters, you become the Monarch. And Monarchs, if you're the Monarch, at the end of the turn, you get to draw a card. And at the beginning of your upkeep, Court of Ire deals 2 damage to any target. But if you are the Monarch, it deals 7 damage. And then all of Gladiators, basically, it's another pump spell. I got a couple things to deal with problems, like I've got Boros Charm, Deflecting Palm, a Fog, and a Path of Exile. I don't really like Path of Exile, but I'm fine with running it in this one. And then I've got all my sorceries, which are basically Recursion, untapping creatures, pumping them up, and giving them Vigilance. This one gives Vigilance, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn. And there's an extra combat phase, and only the chosen creatures can attack, though. I've got a couple more tutors. This one's a recursion. This one's a recursion. This one's a tutor, and this one's a tutor. So, yeah, and it's mostly just a Voltron, but it doesn't sacrifice creatures to pump up the amount of artifact or equipment. Okay, so now we're going into the decks that are proof of concept. So this one is an Eldrazi deck. However, the commander for this one is actually Ultima Origin of Oblivion. He is a 5-drop. Let me just give me a second here. He is a 5-drop, and when he attacks, you put a blight counter on target land. For as long as that land has a blight counter on it, it loses all land types and abilities and has just adding one colorless. But whenever you tap a land for a colorless, you add an extra colorless. However, most of the lands in this one are based off of colorless. But the crux of this deck, and this is just one I might build in the future, the crux of this deck is either a combination of Ugin. Ugin is so much fun. He's actually not that expensive, funny enough. It's either that one or Pathway Through the Ulamog, because Annihilator 3/9/9 for 11, but I have things to reduce the cost. There's also, if that heralds the end, colorless spells you cast with mana value 7 or greater cost 1 less to cast, and other colorless creatures you control get 1/1. It's a 2-drop, 1 in a colorless for 2/2. Not bad. It That Betrays. It's 12 cost, Annihilator 2. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, you put that card onto the battlefield under your control. It's an 11/11. It's a lot of fun. This is basically an Eldrazi deck. Eldrazi decks are kind of hard to play because you really need to... You can't present yourself as the target until the opportune moment. Okay, so next concept deck is another Final Fantasy deck. But this time, it's based around Sephiroth. Now, this one I haven't fully gone over, but basically, Sephiroth's ability is when he enters or attacks, you may sack another creature, and if you do, you draw a card. And whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. And if this is the 4th time that this has happened, you transform him. And when you transform him, he has flying. He's a 5/5. And as he transforms, you get an emblem where whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. And when he attacks, you can sacrifice any number of other creatures that are probably, I think it's your own, but you can all, I'm not sure though. But if you do, you draw that many cards. So this is basically this is effectively just a sacrifice deck, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, so the next one is Xantcha. This is my Force Combat deck. So basically the idea of this deck is basically goading and Force Combat. So so she enters under the control of an opponent of your choice. The Xantha, when she attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner, which is me, or planeswalkers its owner's control. However, you could pay 3 and the controller loses 2 life and you draw a card. And any player may activate this ability. The idea behind this is basically you're passing around the pain a little bit. And since it's black and red, those are cards those are colors that I don't usually run. I don't usually run red unless I'm pairing it off with something else. But dedicated red it's not my style, to be honest, but it's a lot of fun. And it's just another it's another concept deck. Now I'm gonna skip over this one. Hang on a sec. Okay, so this one is Horsies. It's just horses. This is another concept, but it's based around Shadowfax. And Shadowfax's ability, he is a 5 cost, 3 and red and white for 4/4. Horses you control have haste, and when he attacks, you may put a creature card with lesser power from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it's all horses, and it is a lot of fun, but I haven't refined it yet. And then I have my ninja deck. Now, ninjutsu mainly. So, the main commander here is Yuriko. Her thing is, she has commander ninjutsu. So, you return an unblocked attacker you control to hand, and you put this card from the battlefield tapped, or from your hand or the command zone tapped and attacking. So, you're swapping out attackers essentially. And whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you reveal the top card of your library and put that card... and you put that card into your hand. And each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value. So it's all about the ninjas. The ninjas do various things. I have to find the other one. Where is it? Hang on. Oh, Satoru. So Satoru has each creature card in your hand has ninjutsu 4, 2 and blue black. It is, but it's kind of still in work in progress. So there's that. Now, I'm going to go to my other decks, and I'll show you the other ones I've got. So, I've got, let's see here, something I actually want to talk about here. Hang on. Let's see. Where is my curses? Where's my curses? There. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so, this is a curse deck. Nobody plays curses unless it's just 1 or 2 cards. But this commander, which is Lind, Cheerful Tormentor, she is all about the curses, and she is a lot of fun. It's all It's all about the curses, and some of my favorites are actually from. My favorite ones are Curse of the Bloody Tome, Curse of Unbinding, I think it is. Yeah, that one, and it is just so much fun. It is a lot of fun. But again, it's another concept deck. But it's one I might be building in the future. And I do have a dragon deck, but I'm not going to reveal that one. Because I'm just not ready for that yet. Anyway, guys, so that's it for all the decks that I have. So, and if you guys want to see another one like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.